corporation, business entity with rights similar to an individual. A corporation is a business entity with rights similar to an individual, in that a corporation pays taxes and has a life apart from the people who work within the corporation. Contrast this with a sole proprietorship, which is a business owned and operated by an individual. The owner of a sole proprietorship pays taxes and includes the business revenue and expenses as part of her personal revenue and expenses. A corporation is owned through shares owned by people. A C Corp pays the classic, quote, double taxation, end quote, because of its independent status under the law. The corporation pays taxes, and then the individual pays taxes on the profits the corporation distributes to them. An S Corp is a tax status that gets around this double taxation by passing profits through to the shareholders. Shares can be bought or sold as the value of the company fluctuates. A corporation is a business entity that has rights similar to an individual. Area, length times width, with units raised to the power of 2. There are 3 important dimensional measures to know in the real estate profession, and in life, They are length, with units raised to the power 1, area, with units raised to the power 2, and volume or space, with units raised to the power 3. Area is calculated by multiplying 2 dimensions, typically length times width, to produce a measure of something bounded by 2 dimensions. Since length has units, say feet for example, and times width, which has units, we have to be consistent, so feet in this example, and feet times feet is feet squared, or feet to the power 2. Area is the typical measure of land in real estate. Buildable acre, area of land in subdivision, left minus streets. A buildable acre is also known as a commercial acre. A buildable acre is the remaining area left over after the area taken up by streets, sidewalks, alleys, curbs, etc. is subtracted from the overall area of the subdivision. The usefulness of a buildable acre is that a developer of subdivisions can plan on how much area of property it will have to sell and make money from. Synonyms: commercial acre. Closing costs. Costs and fees of obtaining a loan on real property. Closing costs are the costs and fees of obtaining a loan on real property. There are 2 types of closing costs: recurring and non-recurring. Recurring closing costs are those that happen over and over, like property insurance or property taxes. Fees associated with the cost of the loan only occur once, so they are called non-recurring closing costs. Closing costs are the costs and fees of obtaining a loan on real property. Partnership. two or more individuals joined in business. A partnership is like a sole proprietorship, only it has two or more owners. A partnership needs to define the percent ownership of each partner, and profits are paid to partners according to that percent. Taxes are filed by the individual owners, reflecting the partnership percentages. Partnerships do not use, quote, shares, end quote, like a corporation, but percent ownership is spelled out. A partnership has two or more individuals joined in business. Coastal zone. Strip of land extending down the coast. A coastal zone is a strip of land 3 miles wide which extends down the coast. California has over 1,000 miles of coastland. To protect this precious land, the California Coastal Commission regulates the rules of developing the coast so that it is done in a responsible manner. This is done through local responsibility or local coastal programs, LCP, wherein individual cities and counties manage their section of the coastal zone, the area of coastal land, according to California Coastal Commission, CCC, standards. The CCC maintains control by approving or denying coastal development permits, much as a city manages building codes through building permits. The coastal zone is a 3-mile wide strip of land extending all the way down the coast. Related words, California Coastal Act. Do-Not-Fax. People who have asked not to be cold-faxed. Federal laws allow citizens to add their names and numbers to a national Do Not Call and Do Not Fax list. Real estate professionals are not allowed to cold call or cold fax the numbers on these lists. Cold calling is the act of making unsolicited sales calls by telephone to potential customers who do not know the salesperson. An auto dialer is a device used to automatically call one phone number after the other. Cold calling and using an auto dialer to numbers on the Do Not Call or Do Not Fax list is prohibited. The Do Not Call and the Do Not Fax lists are national lists protected by federal law for people who have expressed a desire not to receive unsolicited phone calls and faxes. Related words, cold call, auto dialer. Willing buyer. Another term for a ready, willing, and able buyer. A willing buyer is another name for a ready, willing, and able buyer. It is a shorter way of expressing this concept, which is tied to the market value of a property, which is the highest price a ready, willing, and able buyer will pay. Synonyms, ready, willing, and able. Related words, market value, fair market value. Execute. To complete, to sign. To execute a contract means to sign the contract. An executed contract is a contract which has been completed or fulfilled. An executory contract is a contract that is not yet complete, or which has some remaining aspect still to be completed. To execute can mean two things: to complete a contract or to sign a contract. Utility. Ability to satisfy needs or desires. Utility is a word from the field of economics. Utility is how useful something is to people. Utility works to describe a value in terms of the ability to satisfy needs or desires of people. Utility might help us to understand why something might be valuable to a person or persons. Utility is the ability to satisfy needs or desires.